So let's get into maybe just a little bit more specifics around where we really at today. For wireline technologies, right, this is whether it's to the home or to the business, where we were at was the ability to do, we started with T1 speeds, right? So a T1 connection is about 1.5 megabits per second. And that's what most of us like, wow, if I get a T1, that'd be great, right? So it's 1.5 megabits per second. Most of us in our homes now with DSL or cable modem can get well beyond that, just over the copper wire or the coax that we have today. And so that's what this is showing, is there's different technologies, different ways that we can compress information and drive it over that same wire to get more and more bandwidth out of it. So that's what these different acronyms are. And so we won't go through all those details, but you can kind of see technology-wise where we're going. GPON is the latest. It's gigabit passive optical networking. For those of you that have seen the Verizon Fios capability, that's what they're driving. They literally will give you, today they'll give you a 50 megabit per second connection to your home. And that's only because they're throttling it back. They could easily do 100 megabits per second on that connection. And with technology growing, that's only going to go even higher on that same optical strand. It's a strand the size of a hair that's coming to your home. So that's optical technology, and then this is what we do with copper. So with DSL technology and the existing twisted pair of copper that's coming in your homes. And so not quite as much as fiber, but still growing pretty dramatically. Okay, please go to the second half of this. From a wireless perspective, right? Because wireline or wired. So wired is great for those that are at home or in the office. But wireless is really what we're all about now, right? Where I think we're more and more used to being mobile and doing everything we do at home, we want to be able to do on the go. And so wireless technology, you can kind of see the trend here. It's a little hard to read. Where we're at today is we have the ability to do about 12 to 15 megabits per second over the air to your cell phone. And where we're going with what we call 4G technology. One of the interesting things that happens is we have terminology in telecommunications called first generation wireless, second generation wireless. That's called 1G, 2G. iPhone, that can be this iPhone 3G. Right? That's the first time in the mass market for 3G. What the heck is that? That's what it is. It's the third generation technology of wireless. And what we're developing today in our lab is 4G, the fourth generation. And that's what intended fourth generation is going to get to 100 megabits per second over the air. Now that's a share from 1 power, with the depending on the coverage of that power, 100 megabits per second of data is going through the air between the users that are in under that power and places now. You can basically do all the things that we know how to use today now. You'll be able to do it in your cell phone within a couple of years. Right? So in fact, Verizon said they want to do the first 4G market product by the end of 2009. Now, they're being really aggressive. We'll see if we can actually pull it off by the end of 2009. But it's kind of easy, so it's not that far away to get to some of these data rates that we're talking about. All right, so the other thing that's happening is around cell phones. So the other thing happens, so I touched on earlier, right? 280 million cell phones, 90% of the U.S. population. 90% of the U.S. population has cell phones, and that includes kids. And so you think, well, it's kind of saturated. We can't keep growing anymore. Well, not quite true. We actually see that the 2G, or the existing, the old generation phones, will go down, and people are very rapidly buying new 3G phones, and that'll be followed by 4G, fourth generation phones. And what's pretty amazing is, we all see the ads on TV, but the iPhone really dramatically changed our perception of what we could do in a little device in our pocket. And now there's all these iPhone wannabes, that's what I'll call them, because in my opinion, nothing else has yet even come close to that operating system. They come close, but they're not quite there at the iPhone. But there's a slew of devices like that now. And so that's what we're predicting to grow. And in fact, the next slide I'm going to show you a little bit more specifics around what we're seeing in terms of the trends. So this talks about folks that have the iPhone versus, those of us like me that don't have an iPhone yet. And those that have an iPhone are much more apt to do broadband data type of capabilities. And you can see the percentages are pretty dramatic, right? So in terms of looking at, taking a mobile video and uploading it, doing a social, accessing Facebook or Twitter or one of those social websites. This is Facebook in particular. YouTube, watching a YouTube video. I mean, it's dramatic. Almost 1/3 of iPhone users have looked at a YouTube video on their phone. Only 1% of the rest of us have, right? So the notion being that, while many of us, tended to think, hey, why do I really need to do these things on the phone? Is it that big a deal? I'll wait till I'm in my home, or I'll wait till, I'm in the office, and then I'll check something out. The reality of what we're finding from the iPhone is, if you give somebody a device and make it easy to use, totally intuitive, it says you push a button, and you can go to a website and easily see something, people are going to do it. And they're going to do it often. Just general trends down here around, 12% of iPhone users actually browse the internet actively, right? The rest of us, much slower. Music, well, the iPhone is an iPod, so definitely they're going to do a lot more music. And then email, right? I think those of us in the workforce that might do email, but in general, people don't do emails on their cell phone, and that's changing. And here I threw up some of the other devices, right? Everybody's coming out with touch screens, everybody's coming out with higher data rate phones. In fact, the phone companies themselves are saying, here's an all-you-can-eat plan for $100, go for it, you can see live TV on your cell phone, et cetera. So what we see changing is as these phones become more powerful and more intuitive, more and more of us are going to have this, technology in our hands, in our pockets, in our purses. And as more and more of us have this, more and more applications or widgets are going to be created. And so it just continues to fuel the trends that we're seeing or that we're predicting in terms of where technology is going. Oh yeah. Oh, I had one little bubble. Turns out that watching a single half-hour video on the internet consumes as much bandwidth as sending 200 emails a day for a year. So I keep throwing some of these video things in here because that's really what's driving dramatically the pipes that we have to build in the background is video. And whether it's YouTube, short clips, or it's going to be streaming video, as you guys probably all noticed, all of the television networks now say, hey, if you missed this show, go to NBC.com or ABC.com and you can watch whatever you want. Sometimes they have these shows, the new shows coming up, you can watch them even before they have them on live TV for $1. I mean, the whole notion of video is changing. And then you take something like Verizon and AT&T, and a lot of other phone companies around the country that are actually want to get into the television business and push video, broadcast video over their copper or fiber network. So dramatic changes in terms of how we're communicating and sharing information back and forth.